or comments, please access the Google Form link sent on the Zoom chat. Kindly refrain from indicating comments not related to the topic, and we highly encourage you to send your questions while presenting or the presentation is being done. We will be acknowledging your questions and directing them to our speakers during the open forum. Okay, I'm sure our staff will send the link of the Google form later on. Now, let me now share with you the schedule of today's webinar. There will be two parts. The first part is the talk of our speaker, and the second part is the open forum. If you have any questions again or comments on the presentation of the speaker, kindly send them on the Zoom chat box or accomplish the Google form shared with you. Please state your name, the school or organization you represent, and your brief questions or comments. Later, during the open forum, we will address them through the speaker. Also, e-certificates will be awarded to registered participants who will accomplish the evaluation form. We will provide the link for the evaluation at the end of this webinar. And we hope that you will gain new and useful learning from this event. At this point, may I now call on Father Roberto Ezequiel and Rivera S.J., University President, to give the welcoming remarks.
To our dear Ateneo de Naga College students, faculty, and staff, it is my distinct honor and pleasure to welcome all of you to this webinar on cultivating safe spaces, jointly sponsored by the Ateneo de Naga University Office of Student Affairs and the Committee on Decorum and Investigation. I would like to thank in particular Mr. Sunny Virtus and the OSA and CODI teams for putting up this very timely webinar. Our biggest thanks, of course, go to our very distinguished guest speaker, our very own and the most honorable City Councilor, Dr. Gilda Gayle Abonal-Gomez, the also of the psychology department of our college. My dear friends, the topic of this webinar is truly important. We know that the Ateneo de Naga University is committed to making our university and our community a safe space for all, where there is no tolerance for abuse, discrimination, and any kind of violence against all genders. And that is why I believe this webinar should be a source not only of information, which is valuable, but also an assurance that you, our students, are in a community, are in a university, an education environment where you can truly feel safe and where there is recourse for you if by some unfortunate chance you find yourself the victim or the subject of any kind of abuse. I would like to thank all of you for making time for this important webinar and committing yourselves to this common task of ours in ensuring that all forms of abuse, discrimination, and violence are stamped out of our community. We are well aware of the saying that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. We pray that this webinar will help in the prevention of all kinds of abuse, violence, and discrimination, so that we can truly focus ourselves on this big grace given to us to channel our energies towards education, the pursuit of growth and wisdom. Once again, my deepest thanks to the OSA and CODI teams, to our Honorable Councilor, Dr. Gilda, Gayle Abonal-Gomez, and above all to all of you for dedicating yourselves to this important afternoon. I pray this will be a very fruitful and meaningful seminar for all. Once again, thank you to everyone. Salamat po. As in, Diyos mabalos.
Thank you, Father Robert. At this juncture, it is now time to meet our resource speaker. After her talk, there will be an open forum. If you have questions, you may accomplish the Google form, which shall be shared in our chat box. During the talk, may I appeal to everyone to put your mic on mute so as not to distract or interrupt the speaker and other participants. Now, without further ado, it is with great pleasure to introduce to you our distinguished resource speaker for this afternoon. She is an associate professor from the Ateneo de Naga University. She has a PhD in clinical psychology from the Ateneo de Manila University and obtained her MA in psychology and BS degree from the Ateneo de Naga University. A licensed psychologist and psychometrician, she has over 20 years of experience as a mental health practitioner and consultant in both government and private institutions. Her engagement in community counseling began in 2004 when she volunteered to provide psychological services to the Naga City Bantay Familia Incorporated, an NGO based in Naga City, Camarines Sur, catering to victims of abuse and domestic violence. Seeing the importance of prevention, she designed the program on psychosocial interventions for families, which is now, until now, being implemented in 27 barangays in Naga City. Trained volunteers cascaded sessions on family communications and well-being. This program led to the recognition of the Naga City Bantay Familia as a local learning hub by the Philippine Commission on Women. In 2006, she involved herself in disaster interventions, became trainer for the Katatagan Resiliency Program of the PAP, and in 2017, became its chair of the Special Interest Group on Mental Health and Psychosocial Services. She was also part of the design and training team of the Katatagan Contra Drogas sa Komunidad, a drug relapse prevention program which is now adopted and implemented by several local government units, government agencies, and universities. She continued to advocate towards drug reduction and recovery as one of the program development officers of the USAID Renew Health Project on community-based drug recovery and eventually became the chair of the Psychological Association of the Philippines Special Interest Group on Substance Use, Prevention, and Recovery. In April of 2020, to respond to the growing mental health concerns due to the pandemic, she was part of the PAP's group of psychologists who designed the Katatagan Online, a resilience program for Filipinos. Grabe guys, di ba? As a first-timer city councilor of Naga, she heads the Sangguniang Panlungsod standing committees on family and children, people empowerment, and women and gender development. She is also co-chairperson of the Naga City Council for Women, Council for Welfare and Protection of Children, and the City Nutrition Council, and the Executive Director of the Naga City Mental Health Advisory Board. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to welcome Dr. Gilda Gayle A. Gomez. Let us all give her a big virtual round of applause. Hello, ma'am. Good afternoon po.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. Sige, kumusta po kayo? I requested the tech to share my slides.
And you can share your screen na daw po.
Actually, I requested that my slides be shared by your tech.
All right, ma'am.
Thank you. Sige, siguro while waiting, because actually, the first part of the talk will also ask you, about your thoughts or concept about safe space. And I saw several answers in the chat box. Okay, so I'm seeing here quite a lot answered about comfort zone, comforting zone, free environment, safe space for some means not being violated. For some are referring to significant people like their friends, home, um, safe space for one is having an alone time or me time. Okay? This is interesting, no? Confidential, not funds. Estudyante ko to eh. Sige po. Welcoming, inclusive, okay, a place where I can express my true self. Okay? Let's see if your ideas are at all connected to the idea of or to the concept of a safe space. Um, are we now ready to share this slide?
All right, ma'am. I think we are having technical difficulty po at the moment. Pero, ayan, malapit na raw po, ma'am. We apologize po.
Sure. I'm worried because I'm actually currently attending our national convention. Um, and I'm just in the hotel. Baka malag out ako. Um, medyo pumapala yung internet. So if I share the slides, please.
Right. Kamusta po kayo, ma'am? How are you doing at the moment po?
I'm in Legazpi for the National Convention of Psychologists. No? So we're very happy that this year Bicol is hosting our annual convention. So finally, natuloy na rin. Hopefully, Naga could also host, perhaps in the coming year. So this time, yeah, probably, if not all, most of the psychologists are here in class. Psychologists and psychometricians. And then we also had the oath taking for our newly licensed psychometricians. And I'm proud to tell everyone that we also received an appreciation award for getting the 8th spot, top spot, top 8 top 8 performing school in the Philippines during the recently concluded psychometrician board. Okay na ba?
Yes, okay na daw po ma'am. Share na po natin.
Okay.
Later po ulit ma'am, we will have the open forum po wherein the participants will be able to ask their questions sa inyo po. Alright, I think we have shared the screen po ma'am. Nakikita niyo na po ba sa inyong?
Yeah.
Alright, thank you po.
Okay. Sige. So I mentioned to, if you're going to look at the next slide, there's also a question there, no, asking you about your ideas of a safe space. So perhaps you can just go to the slide after this one. Next slide, please. Okay, so before we come to understand, no, the concept of safe space and how we're trying to achieve not safe spaces here, not only on a national level but also locally. Let us first look into some facts. Okay, so based on statistics, 88% of women who are aged 18 to 24 years old have experienced sexual harassment in the streets. Okay? 58% of these incidents take place on the streets, in small alleys, in public vehicles, public washrooms or comfort rooms, schools, and workplaces. And for the record, in 2022, there were no three in every five women in our country have been sexually harassed. If we're going to look at local data, I asked from the PNP Naga, um, unfortunately, sinasabi nila na walang complaints. Um, that there are no reports of harassment. Walang report, walang complaints. Now, I'm not sure. Well, there are reports no in the barangay level, but the question there is bakit hindi nagre-report sa police? Okay, so given that, the insight here is that we have to let people know more about uh, sexual harassment, gender-based sexual harassment, and promote more of the safe space. Okay, sige po. Next slide, please. Okay, so what do we mean by safe space now? So it's actually what a protection no from psychological harm. Okay, so a safe space is said to be created if there's freedom from judgment, allowing individuals to, go on with their concerns, mention their concerns, express themselves without fear of being condemned for them. On the understanding also that there could be what change no in the process. Okay, so there's a feeling of security in expressing one's knowledge, attitude, behavior, and largely one's identity. Okay, so just to trace back na the origins of these concepts, so can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, I think the site people would know no, about Kurt Levan, um, students from the business courses as well, I think, and from the social sciences in general. Okay, so Kurt Levan introduced no, sensitivity training. So he believed that if people are to be placed in groups, no, um, these are actually composed of people from the workplace. They will be placed in groups and then they will be taught how to um, give honest feedback to each other, allow them to become aware of behaviors that are not helpful for them, um, allow them to raise their assumptions, their biases, and behaviors also that are holding them back. It is said that this could be one way of producing effective leaders in any organization. So Kurt Levan believed that honesty and change can only happen if people could be frank, no, and challenge others in an environment, okay, where there is psychological safety. In other words, there's no judgment involved. Okay, so there are also there are also literature, no, which trace back the origin of the safe space concept to the 1960s. Um, through the women's movement. So it was seen as a means to create protective spaces for women against violence. And it was said to provide a community, not to make change. It was actually Moira Kenny, no, who noted that safe space in the women's movement was actually should be considered no a means rather than an end, and not only a physical space, but actually more so no a space created by coming together of women searching for a sense of community, a sense of belongingness. And through that, when women came together, a lot of them felt some form of liberation. A lot of them were actually empowered. Okay. And the concept was also traced back no, to in the 1970s, where there were women's and LGBT movement now this time, and people gathered in an environment they considered to be secure. So in that particular space, they were able to meet and discuss certain issues. It also no, it would also go back to the historical backgrounds pertaining to protection of marginalized people from being discriminated, and offering them that safe space. And in the 1980s, the term had reached educational institutions. It was used now heavily um, and specifically by students who had certain traits, um, such as that the female students, members of the LGBTQIA community, ethnic minorities, and the marginalized groups. Okay, next slide, please. And then later on, the concept has began to be popular. There were authors of books which would quote no and refer to safe space as being responsible for our own actions and safety, and the safety of those around you. So not only of our safety, but also of the safety of others. And then there was another author who specifically mentioned that a safe place is a place where people could find practical resistance to political and social repression, because later on there were too many uh, social
Battery low.
groups, okay, now advocating for safe space. And as time
Battery
passed,
low.
safe spaces became widely popularized and used as various movements and advocacies
Charging
to
battery.
make people heard and to be seen in the context of social justice, racial justice, and even just the basic human rights. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, but I'd also like to share with you, no, that the safe space actually belongs to a hierarchy of need. So again, for our students from the psychology department, kilala nyo to, si Abraham Maslow no, introduced to us a hierarchy of needs where when he said that each of us, no, all individuals would have a long list of needs. Okay, but he categorized them into five, and then presented it, illustrated it through through a pyramid. Okay, and um, the need for safety is actually on the second level. So there is now for everyone there's a need for safety, and so it's vital and primal. In some books, it's also actually considered as a basic instinct. Okay, so it's really coming from our desire, our need to be free from fear. Okay, so hindi natin gusto yung ganong pakiramdam, di ba? Yung natatakot kayo. Uh, so that sometimes kapag um, mabog-kabog lang yung dibdib nyo, no? And then you say, kinakabahan ako, and you don't even know why, tapos sasabihin nyo, bakit ako kinakabahan? And you feel very uncomfortable already, right? So, an individual would need to feel safe and secured. Um, an individual would need not to be free from harm from other people in his neighborhood, in his community, in his surroundings in general. But this is also very interesting and very important to note because this, this need, no, our need to be free from fear, our need to be safe, our need to be secure, um, would be set aside, no, um, frequently because there are other seemingly more important needs, no, like perhaps our need to be fed, our need to be with our friends, our need to perform our tasks in school, our need to um, pass our subjects, your needs na to be with your um, family. So merong ibang mga needs na mas bigyan natin ng importance, ng kahalagahan. And this is also the reason why when our rights are already violated, when people across, our boundaries, cross our fences, um, there are times when ang attitude po natin, okay lang, no? Hinahayaan lang natin. And so the same um, acts or doing are repeatedly done to us because we do not put value or importance, no, in this particular need. Okay? Sige po. Can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, so paano naman to, no, paano pumasok yung konsepto na in the Philippines? Okay, so when the Anti-Sexual Harassment Act or RA 7877 in 1995 came out, safe space then meant to include already work, educational, and training facilities. In the past, ang sinasabi nila na yung safe space legally pertain to a private property. Okay? But with RA 7877, nag-expand, no? And then mas naging malalim yung ibig sabihin ng safe space. Okay, so to also promote safe space in schools here in the Philippines, the Department of Education implemented the DepEd Child Protection Okay, so that was in 2012, okay, which aimed to protect the children from private and public schools from any form of abuse, okay? So to protect children from violence, exploitation, discrimination, bullying, and all sorts of abuse. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, and in 2019, the Philippine Congress enacted RA 11313, also known as the Safe Spaces Act or Bawal Bastos Act, no, in response to the gaps in security in both public and private settings. Okay, so the aim of this is that every man and woman in the country should have the right to equality, security, and safety. no, not only in public spaces such as schools, workplace, or even in the streets, but also in online platforms. Okay, and then okay, next slide, please. Okay, at locally, no, locally, because we learned that here in Naga, parang hindi pa masyado nai-implement, okay, yung um, Bawal Bastos Law or the Safe Space Act. And then we also learned that there are still too many people who do not understand, no, about GBSH or gender-based sexual harassment. There are too many victims who would not even know that they have already been violated or victimized. And so the move to localize, no, the law, the Bawal Bastos Law. So this is actually introduced by Saligan or Sentro ng Alternatibong Lingap Panlegal and the Naga City Council for Women. And I am sponsoring this ordinance. Hopefully next week maipasa na to in the plenary. And I'm sponsoring this together with my CYO counterpart. I don't know if Rhea is here, Honorable Rhea Cristel Bonacqua, who's also from the psychology department of our university. Okay, so siguro in a nutshell, what does the ordinance say? What are the specific provisions? Um, there is an emphasis in prohibition, in the prohibition of gender-based streets and public spaces sexual harassment. Um, it's important, no, that we begin with prohibition. So bakit ganon? Kailangan malaman ng tao kung ano yung mga bawal, kung ano yung mga violations. When you say that I have been violated, that can actually be subjective, no? Because a violation for one person may not be a violation for another. And so the violation, no, um the recognition that there was a violation committed should actually come from the victim. There are times when we witness, right, violations committed by one person to another, and yung tao, yung na-victimize, hindi niya alam na naging biktima pala siya. And so um either the witness reports directly to authorities, or yung witness ipapaalam niya dun sa victim na dapat hindi niya ginawa yun sa'yo. Okay, but at the end of the day, the person who was supposed to be the victim should still have that acknowledgement and recognition that there was a violation. Okay? And so because of that, we would like to also push for prevention, no? Na hindi lang dapat ipagbawal, pero papaano natin mape-prevent, okay, yung pambabastos, no? Um, one specific provision of the ordinance is that, no, for common carriers, for public utility vehicles, magiging part ng requirement nila yung sa pag-secure ng permit to operate, um, that the operator and the driver both have gone through trainings, no, on gender sensitivity, and the courses that will be offered by the Naga City Council for Women. So they will be given a certification that they've gone through the trainings. In business establishments, magiging part din po ng requirement yon if they're going to renew or apply for new business permits, no, that the business owner and at least, no, one employee to be designated as the anti-sexual harassment officer or ASHO, dapat mag-training sila, and then the ASHO relays the training to the other employees in that particular business, or company, or office. Okay. Initially, we thought that this would, create an alarm on the people concerned. Pero surprisingly, supportive, no? Supportive yung mga business owners, supportive yung um, operators, so that, they could also contribute to prevention. Okay. Um, so apart from that, we rec- the there are provisions also to enhance, to strengthen, no, the anti-sexual harassment desk in the PNP, no, Naga City Police Station, so that um, they can also be empowered to really implement not just the law but the ordinance now. Okay. And we also request, no, one of the provisions is that to also strengthen the um, anti-sexual harassment enforcers. So that would include not only the PNP but also our public safety officers, no, the PSO. So kakatulong na rin sila sa pagbabarangay. And then in the barangay level, we would also provide for more trainings and education on the barangay gender and development focal point system, composed of the punong barangay, the barangay captain, down to the specific personnel catering to gender and development issues, specifically also the um, violence against women and children officer. Okay, but apart from those, I think this is where, the school can actually help out. No, we would like to strengthen as well education and awareness campaign about sexual harassment. There are times when yun na nga, 'di ba? Sabi natin, hindi alam nung tao, no, na na-harass na siya, or hindi rin alam nung supposedly a perpetrator na harassment pala yon. Okay? So, 'di ba, yung whistling, catcalling, um, when, these are committed, tapos magrereklamo tayo, sasabihin ng tao, ay, nagjo-joke lang ako. Wala naman ako ibig sabihin nun. Okay? But, when we get to inform people about this, no, di naman kasi pwedeng every time i-explain nila yung intention nila, right? Or every time, baka maging excuse yung intention, no, na may intention naman pala naman bastos, pero sabihin niya, ay, joke lang yon. Okay? So regardless of the intention, but if the behavior is present, if the act is present, the specific harassment behaviors are present, then a violation has already been committed. Okay? Um, Apart from that, we will also strengthen, no, the CCTV ordinance. Ngayon po, hindi lahat ng um, streets, no, may mga CCTV. Not all major roads and thoroughfares, hindi lahat may CCTV. There are CCTVs, but sometimes they're functional. So there's a special task force to look into the matter, no, to make sure that these are in place, because this can be helpful, no, especially in terms of um, establishing evidences if violations are committed. Okay? Now, there's also a major provision on establishment of a referral and support mechanism. So there's for every business establishment, agency, unit, there's supposed to be an anti-sexual harassment desk. Okay, so doon pwede mag-complain yung mga nagiging victim, but they're also tasked to um, look into policies, formulate and update, and then also help out in the campaign and education. Okay. And since it's important for us to look into the person, not only of the victim, but also of the perpetrator. The provision also, um, the ordinance also provides for psychological counseling, not only for the victim, but also for the perpetrator. In the um, consultations we conducted, there have been sharing about no achieving restorative justice, formation for people who perpetrate violence, for people who victimize others. So hindi nakakatuwa 'yon, no? On my part, sabi ko nga, of course we condemn the act, we condemn the behavior, but we would also like to help the person who committed the act or the behavior. Okay? So ayun po, no, in a nutshell, that's what the ordinance is all about. Um Sige po. Next slide please. Okay. So one of the safe spaces is the school, no? So as schools are diverse, no, there should be freedom and equality for each student, each teacher, each non-academic personnel, and including the parents. Okay, because it's said, no, that students who do not feel safe in school, they have decreased learning potential and they develop more emotional problems. So a sense of belonging. Can we go to the next slide, please? See? So a sense of belonging is essential for learning. No? So we humans are social beings, wired to become social, to be members of a particular group. Okay, so when our mental resources, when our cognition is devoted to monitoring cues or signs in the environment that we are going to be rejected, or that we are going to be hurt, or that we are going to be harassed or violated, then our ability to comprehend and remember academic content, and in general learn, our ability to learn is affected. Okay, and because of that we must help students know to feel included, to feel safe and strong enough, okay, emotionally strong enough to learn. Okay, so we would like to promote, no, to see, okay, that students can speak openly without being scared of their classmates or their or their teachers. Okay, that they can be treated as independent individuals and that they can voice out their opinions. However, there are limits to this. Now, there are boundaries to this that we would also like to emphasize that when we express ourselves, when we would like to voice out our opinions, we do it with respect as well. We do it with politeness and kindness. Okay? Fairness from both teachers and students, where all kinds of viewpoints and positions are involved and being discussed should also be promoted. No? So there's always a sense of who is right or who is wrong, okay? But all sides must be heard and discussed, no? Kahit mali yung point niya, kahit siya yung nagkamali, kailangan siyang bigyan ng pagkakataon to be able to explain, no, the specific behavior. So this will not only promote fairness but also inclusion, because everyone will be involved. Okay, so we must offer no more than a refuge or a shelter that would shield or protect learners or our students from an offending or dangerous mechanism. But our education communities must also provide targeted support, okay, so that students can learn to effectively deal with um, conflicts, violations, stress, and injustice, so that they can be successful, no, not only in the classroom but also in the bigger world around them. Okay, so students are uh, only able to learn within the context of safety and empathy. So safe spaces, no, sometimes unknowingly, can actually teach students to be respectful, to be empathic, to promote inclusion, and to also promote healing, no, among themselves. Okay. Can we go to the next slide, please? Okay. So safe spaces also contribute not to mental health. So one of the ways that safe spaces support mental health is by providing a sense of belonging and acceptance not to students. So for many people, feeling like we are a part of a community and that we receive no strong and powerful emotional support and validation from others, um, that would actually provide us that safe space, no. Safe spaces would allow people to connect with others who share similar experiences, no, and who would understand the unique challenges that each individual might be facing, di ba? Parang I get to see a lot of quotes in the Facebook, and then merong uh, paulit-ulit, no, na nakikita natin sinasabi na we should always practice kindness in dealing with others because we wouldn't know what that particular person is going through. No, so developing this sense of community can actually help people not to reduce their feelings of isolation and loneliness. Kasi sometimes when people are already having psychological concerns and then they still um, experience rejection, violation, some forms of um, judgment, etc. So mas na i-intensify, no, yung negative feelings nila. They breed more on, harbor on negative thoughts and ideas, and then that would lead that can lead actually to more serious conditions. Okay. Sige po. Can we go to the next slide, please? Okay. So how do we cultivate safe spaces now, no? There are really there's no one formula on how to do this. Actually, if we're going to be strict in speaking, um, we have to go through some form of assessment in every supposedly safe space. Okay, so what do we mean by that? Like for example, in our university, we can do an assessment. No, um, what are the needs of our students now in terms of safety and security? What measures might be done to enhance safety and security in the campus, in the classroom. So, and when we say, again, safety and security, we do not just refer to the physical aspect, no? So it's not just about the structure of the classroom. It's really not about the physical space in the campus, but this would also pertain most especially to psychological and emotional safety of each one of us in the university. So from the students to the teachers to the office personnel to the administrators to everyone, no. um, there are also times when they're really not part of our community, parents, visitors who come, and may mga times din, no, na hindi sila estudyante, hindi sila teacher, pero some acts are done, no, in the specific school setting. Okay, so how do we do this? First, no, a very important ingredient here is to foster empathy. Okay, so maraming nagtatanong, can we learn empathy or is this natural? Okay, for some people, mas mataas yung capacity nila to be empathic, okay? But we are also in the belief that empathy can be learned, okay? When it's possible to teach children emotional intelligence and then model to them the different skills pertaining to EQ, ganon din naman si empathy. Empathy actually is part of an element um, in included in emotional intelligence. Okay, so this is the ability, no, to understand things from another person's perspective. It's our ability to share um, our feelings and emotions, no, and understand why we are having those emotions, and at the same time understand also why other people are having those emotions. Okay, so sabi, 98% of people, no, have the ability to empathize with others. There are exceptions, of course, those people with mental conditions. So we have, uh, those who are um, leaning towards psychopathology, narcissism, um, the sociopaths. Okay, so these people are unable to understand, no, or relate to other people's feelings and emotions. That's why it's so easy for them to hurt others. Okay, but empathy includes, no, nurturing our capacity to care and our capacity to understand others. And we have seen the importance of listening in the process of being empathic towards others. So listening to others is a very good way of developing empathy. Now, when we take time to listen to what other people are telling us, it's also an easy way to understand how they think and feel. Okay, so sadly, paminsan, mas nakikinig tayo so that we can respond to what the other person is saying, right? Sometimes, prepared na yung script mo kung paano mo sasabihin yung disagreement mo, yung rebuttal mo, okay? Kasi minsan, meron ding nature yung tao na ayaw natin nagpapatalo sa iba. Okay? But, if we learn empathy, now cultivate empathy inside the classroom, so students will be able to learn what to care for others, to be kind to others. Okay, so pwede ba yung ituro? Of course, no? There are actually exercises. I'm happy to learn, no, that there are some teachers in the grade school, or some even in the high school and even in the tertiary level, na yung mga activities nila sa classes nag-integrate sila, no, in um what how to learn, no, the skills of empathy, how to develop empathy, no, in general. Okay, so sabi nga ni um former President Barack Obama before, he said that the biggest deficit that we have in our society and in the world right now is an empathy deficit. Okay? We are in great need of people being able to stand in somebody else's shoes and see the world through their eyes, no? Kaya when you wake up in the morning, you um go to your Facebook and or listen to the radio, watch TV, or kahit sa neighborhood nyo, there are too many news or stories of violence, no, of hurts, attacks, no, towards others. Um, Nakakalungkot yon kapag mas yung mga tao mas naka-prime na to hurt others than to be kind to others. No, mas nakakatakot if the world around us would finally turn into a world of chaos, no, a world of violence, just because people have not been empathic or kind or grateful towards others. Okay, so ganon po kahalaga yung empathy. Okay, another approach should be promoting emotion regulation. Okay, so what do we mean by this? No, it's actually our ability to effectively manage. No, so we don't say controlling our emotions, but it's actually saying managing our emotions and responding to an emotional experience. Okay, so tayo daw na people unconsciously use emotion regulation strategies to cope with difficult situations many times throughout the day. Okay, so it's also, readily available. But the uh, the tricky part here is that how how did you learn, no, to regulate your emotions? What type of emotion regulation strategies have you learned, no, as a child while growing up? Okay, so at the end of the day, it's still very important to note, no, um, the 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 family where we came from, ano yung natutunan natin habang lumalaki tayo, sino yung mga taong kasama natin, no? Because coping with our managing our emotions can actually be learned, no, and modeled by others to us. Okay, so for this, no, so people would be helped, no, in managing their emotions if they feel that there is support. Okay, if they feel that they are respected by others, and if they feel that at any point um in my life, if I see the need of reaching out to others, I know where to go. If there's a network or a system of support, okay, that is available for me. Okay. And so the school, the university should put in place, okay, a support system, okay, a mechanism where students can go and um allow themselves not to be heard, where people will also listen to their stories, where they can discuss freely, they can talk about their emotions without being judged by others. Okay, and together with that, no, another approach is to offer an environment that is free of judgment. Okay, um, sometimes we just have to learn when to ask what when it's not okay to ask invasive questions, when it's not okay to give unsolicited opinions or advice, um because sometimes if we do, we inject disrespect um towards others, no. Minsan hindi kailangan ng tao yung mga sinasabi natin. And sometimes, mas nagkakamali pa tayo kapag nagsasalita tayo, right? Sometimes we put more harm and damage, cause more damage to others, no? Because of what we feel or what words of advice or words of support. Okay? And so the university, no, the school should also help promote dialogue where people can discuss freely, no, engage in healthy discussions, create a culture of expressing their thoughts, no, rather than keeping to themselves and harboring negative emotions just because they were not able to express their thoughts, no. Um, Students can be taught how to engage in conversations, no, where damage to others are prevented from happening. Use words, okay, that will promote kindness, no. Use words that will not harm, okay, other students or other people in the university. Okay, and um in the process, no, of dialogue, there should be respect, no, in diversity and inclusion. Okay, so a space for the marginalized should be available. So there's a space for discussion, processing, and yes, sometimes not even healing, especially if um, people have been victimized, no, or traumatized or stressed um, because they have experienced discrimination or some forms of oppression. Okay, so we should not put barriers from anyone, no, despite our differences. Um, that's inevitable. Okay, hindi pwedeng pare-pareho tayo lahat. Okay, so these similarities and differences should all be recognized and valued. Okay, so we focus on the wholeness of each person and not just one aspect of their life, no? Um, Sometimes nakatutok tayo dun sa kung ano yung kakulangan ng isang tao, kung ano yung handicap niya, kung ano yung meron ka at kung ano yung wala siya. But we fail to see the bigger picture. We fail to see everything about the person. And, most likely ganun tayo, right? Mas napapansin natin yung negative ng iba. The goodness, nasa-set aside siya. Um, Especially when there's a more recent negative behavior, or may hindi siya nagawa na mabuti, hindi may nasabi siyang hindi maganda, sa kalimutan na natin yung kabutihan ng tao. Okay, and lastly, no, uh, develop the ability of self-reflection. um, if possible, no, for the teachers here in the university, provide venues for insightful discussions, okay, where students will learn how to um, look inside, no, look internally first rather than go externalizing every time, so that behaviors can be owned, feelings can be owned. Um, Kapag may nagawa siyang mali, may ownership siya. So, because there's ownership, there's a realization that I have done something wrong. So, meron siyang realization later on that nagkamali ako. So, ano yung pwede kong magawa? Okay? So, pwedeng ma-repair yung mga behaviors, no, na nagawa na, or the damages that have been committed to others, no. Kapag na-violate na yung mga spaces ng iba. Okay? I always tell our students in psychology, especially the senior students, na sana maging habit natin yon, yung self-reflection and insight making. If not at the end of the day, at least in a week span, meron kang oras, no, panahon na umuupo ka lang silently on your own, and then just reflect on what you have been, no, so far as a person. Look into your own behaviors. If things happened and these are unfavorable for you, may tanong ka sa sarili mo na bakit kaya nangyari yon, what was my part, in the process, uh, ano sana yung nagawa ko para hindi siya nangyari, and if things happen again, ano yung pwede kong gawin. Okay? Um, if inside the classroom, we can provide for activities where students can really reflect, um, to balance, the very cognitive, very conceptual um, approaches in the classroom. Um, Sana more time to kahit just sit around and then observe their behaviors, observe the behaviors of others. And then paano ako makaka-contribute, paano ako hindi makaka-violate, no, ng safe space ng iba. And how will I also promote my own safe space and maintain my own safe space. Okay? And I think that's the last slide already. Yeah, can we go to the last slide now? Okay, so may quote lang dito, no? Sabi, the best gift you can give is to be someone's safe place. Okay, so we need to raise a generation that understands actually the importance of treating everyone with dignity and empathy. Okay, so change does not lie solely with the government, with the institutions. You all know that it should start with each one of us within our families, our communities, our workplaces, our school, our university. So let us pledge to treat each other with respect, empathy, and dignity, and to call out any form of sexual harassment or violence that we witness, so that each of us can walk freely, unafraid, and with dignity. So that's all for my sharing this afternoon. Good afternoon. afternoon, everyone, and thank you.
Wow, all right. Thank you so much po, Ma'am Gail, for that very informative talk. Why don't we give Ma'am Gail our heart emojis naman dyan, guys? Ang dami-dami nating viewers. Andyan pa ba kayo? Yan, nag-heart na sila, Ma'am. Thank you so much po, Ma'am Gail. And to our participants also. Ayan. As a student po, Ma'am, of the Ateneo de Naga University, this talk po of yours very parang assuring for me. I learned a lot po from your presentation, and I have a few bullet points in here. Bukod dun sa last quote mo na present sa amin, ma'am, ang ganda-ganda. The best gift you can give is to be someone's safe space. I learned, ma'am, through your talk that every one of us here in campus, hindi lang sa campus, sa ating buong community, every one of us has a critical role in attaining a safe space and in having empathy, free of judgment, understanding, inclusivity, self-reflection, and the like. We can have a safe space here in campus or kung nasaan man tayo, wherein there is no fear and we are free to show our genuine thoughts, our genuine self, our genuine actions without having this fear of being judged and being neglected. So thank you so much po, ma'am, again for that beautiful talk. And now, if you have any questions for Ma'am Gail, everyone, please save them later for the open forum. But you may already accomplish the Google form that will be shared in the chat box. Ayan, i-click nyo lang yan, i-input nyo doon yung inyong pangalan at inyong very brief question. And later, sa open forum, i-address natin yan. For now, we are done with the first part of our webinar, and I know that after having to listen to the presentation of our very competent speaker, I am sure that you are excited to ask your questions or share your insights. But before that, again, malaman natin, andyan ba kayo? Kanina nagpa-heart emojis tayo. Ayan, madami yung nag-heart emojis. Ayan, iba-iba pa ang color. Okay. And then before the open forum also, may we just recognize the presence of our students of the CIFP and NSPP program of Ateneo de Naga University. We thank the faculty, especially to the department head, Ma'am Jude. Thank you so much for being here with us. And okay, we have now come to the open forum part of the program. At this point, may I now invite our speaker, invited sharers, and reactor to join us in this open forum. Our sharers for today are the following. Sir Sonny Vertus Jr., the Director of Office of Student Affairs and Chair of the Committee on Decorum and Investigation, and Ms. Zarina Bianca A. Asuncion, the President of the Supreme Student Government. Hello, Sir Sonia and Ate Bianca. Ayan, mamaya maririnig natin sila magsalita. And to our participants, after the sharing of our reactors, you are free to take part in this conversation. Kindly just raise hand, click the raise hand button. And once you are recognized, you may unmute your mic and open your videos to speak. Just a reminder lang ulit, to the open forum participants, just make your question short and brief, concise. Because we would also like to give other people, more people, chances to participate in the open forum. And there will also be only one question per participant due to time constraint. Ayan. Now we will have the sharings. Our first sharer is Mr. Rodolfo S.B. Vertus Jr. Hello, Sir Sunny! Andyan po ba kayo?
I'm not sure if I'm being seen.
Yes, ma, you are seen and heard.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank Dr. Gayle for helpful input and service to the students today. Salamat po, Ma'am Gail. And thank you for your efforts in legislating safe spaces in Naga City. I'm sure our Ateneo de Naga students will very much benefit from your work as city councilor. Well, aside from giving you a reaction, I was also tasked as chair of the Committee on Decorum and Investigation to provide you information on what a student could do when the person experiences sexual harassment and what the university does in addressing such concerns, such as the handling of sexual harassment cases in the university. Allow me now to share my slides. Um, to proceed, let me say that for a while. First, let me say that as a foundational principle in terms of our role as teachers, as administrators, as staff in the cultivation of safe spaces in the university. Let me say that our common task at the Ateneo is the creation of and maintenance no, uh, safe spaces which advance the university mission. So all our goals, our plans, no, our efforts, our activities, policies, programs are geared towards the accomplishment of this particular mission. No, no, everything that we do, all our efforts should find their alignment with the mission and our values as a Catholic Filipino and Jesuit university. So, in light of this task, the school has the responsibility and authority to maintain school discipline. No, in fact, the university personnel, lahat kaming mga empleyado dito sa university exercise either a special parental authority over unemancipated children or yung minors in the school, or we serve in loco parentis or in place of parents to students of majority age, yung 18 years and above, like most of you in the college level. So being special parents or substitute parents, now we have to observe due diligence of good parents to their children. So from this, no, it's very clear that no, other than being teachers, administrators, staff, we have parental authority as well to students. So these are our primary roles in the university. Meaning, while being, no, while we are within our campus and in school sanctioned activities in or outside the university, we have to ensure that that the campus is safe, students are secure, and that the community members, especially the students overall well-being, uh ano siya, uh kumbaga insured, we have to prevent any injury on the child, on the student. So actually stipulated ito sa napakaraming provisions ng batas, sa constitution. This is implied, nandito rin sa ating manual of regulation for private schools and enforced by no less than Supreme Court decisions yan. No? All right. So this also explains why we craft, no, we implement and periodically review all the policies, no guidelines, and protocols such as those included in the student handbook or the employee manuals, no, the administrative manual of the university. So in other words, we all want, no, we all want and need, we deserve a peaceful and orderly environment, no? Be it on site, online, dito man sa campus or sa labas man ng campus. So in whatever platform we carry out our kumbaga learning and teaching and activities. But of course, we have some serious challenges, ano, and unfortunately ang university is not free from incidents of sexual harassment. Now, um, let me share with you that as to sexual harassment, meron tayong tinitingnan na na dalawang batas diyan, ano, other than the DepEd memorandum or policy na na-share kanina ni Doc Gayle, no. Ang isa diyan ay ang RA 7877 or the Sexual Harassment Act of 1995, no, which highlights moral ascendancy, no, or the yung power authority manifested in the sexually charged conduct of one, no, filled with sexual undertones, no. So for examples, between a teacher and a student, so yung teacher merong moral ascendancy over the student, no. A moderator in the organization meron niyang authority, no, may power yan, no. A student, uh, uh, ano yan, a leader over yung members, no. An immediate superior and a supervisee, ano, among our teachers, our staff, no. So, there are some forms of sexual harassment included in the RA 7877, and we have to take note of this. No, yung unwelcome sexual advances, repeated sex-oriented kidding, no, yung teasing, joking, or flirting, no, verbal abuse of a sexual nature, o pati na rin yung graphic commentary about a person's body, sexual prowess, or deficiency kahit na pabiro, ano. Yung derogatory, demeaning, or lascivious comments about men and women in general, especially kapag sexual, ano. Touching, okay, or brushing against another body, offensive crude language, and displaying objects or pictures, no, which are sexual in nature that would create, no, yung hostile or offensive work or living environment, no, toxic na yung environment for a certain person because of these um acts, ano, of these offenses, which are sexual harassment, no. uh so all right. Yung second is the gender-based sexual harassment, no, um under the Safe Spaces Act of 2019. Ito na yung sinasabing bawal bastos law, which is an expansion, ano, of the RA 7877. This latest law punishes the act of sexually harassing a person on the basis of their, sexual orientation, gender, and identity and or expression. This does not necessarily involve moral ascendancy or authority in a relationship between the offender and the victim. So expanded nga ano, pwedeng people on the street, those in authority, teachers, trainers, ano, coaches, superiors, even your peers, our peers, ano, classmates, friends, um, subordinates, no, such as employees, trainees, students, athletes, ano, etc. Pwede silang mag-commit ng gender-based sexual harassment, ano, and the Safe Spaces Act ano, can be invoked against them, no. So yun nga, no, the Safe Spaces Act expands the concept of discrimination and protects, no, persons of diverse sexual orientation, gender identity, and or expression. No, it includes acts such as yung misogynistic, transphobic, homophobic, and sexist slurs. Nasabi na even wolf whistling, no? Um, and of course, we do not want incidents of sexual harassment to happen in our school. Hence, we have to conduct, information and advocacy drives against it, like what we're doing, and formulate measures and protocols to prevent acts of harassment. However, if ever it happens, hindi natin pwedeng i-ignore lang. No, we have to know how to deal with it. No, um, sige, since I have a very limited time. Of course, sabi nga ni Doc Gayle, it's better that we prevent it, that we have a very proactive disposition against sexual harassment. But yun nga, what if it happens to you? No, ano ang pwede mong gawin? All right? So, I'd like now to present to you the structure and the provisions in our university in case you become victims, no, of sexual harassment, no. Okay, so it's either no, a student is the offender, or it's the no, it's the employee who is the respondent in a case of sexual harassment. Now, ano ang disposition? Ano ang step-by-step process in handling sexual harassment cases where the alleged offender is a student? So paano kung kayo, isa sa inyo uh, mga student um ang alleged na offender, no? Okay, so number one, you have to refer the matter to the Office of Student Affairs. Okay, sa OSA. All right, and when we meet, no, when we have a consultation, no, in the office, no, we will request the alleged victim to submit a narrative report or a situational account, no, with whatever evidence that you could actually no provide, no. um for example, if there is a witness, no, or people who could corroborate the complaint, you could actually ask them to submit a supplemental statement. Or if they don't, you could offer their the names. The office could actually help in summoning them and kumbaga giving light to the to the incident, to what happened, no? Okay, the next is that as part of due process, the OSHA shall prepare a notice to explain for the alleged offender. Of course, yung alleged offender, is given the right to be heard. So that person has to reply, no, to the complaint. No? The NTE contains, the specific allegation, the school policies that are possibly violated, and the penalty, provided in the handbook. Okay. So the next is that the office will no yun nga, no, will call in the both parties, actually in most cases separately, to have a sort of case conference as our way of investigating and hearing the case. In the course of the investigation, we prefer student parties, so pwedeng kasing student against student. So both parties are referred to the guidance counselor for formative intervention, and guidance. No? We in most cases, no, we also inform the parents or guardians of the students, and meet with them to discuss the case and the school procedures. But of course, there are also instances, where students, opt not to inform their parents, no. So that's a very delicate, situation. So we weigh things, and make some decisions there. Okay. And then we actually
Balang araw
do
gaya
our
nito.
investigation. We formulate our findings, and we refer our or submit our recommendation to the disciplinary board. No? Kapag estudyante yan, ang mandate is given to the Office of Student Affairs and the disciplinary board. No, the DB is composed of a chair, and then faculty representatives, student representatives, and parent representatives, no, para balanse yung viewpoints, no, yung lenses. The DB reviews and hears the case and makes its own findings and recommendations, no, which are forwarded to the university president for his son. No? Of course, there is a chance for either of the parties to appeal the decision to the father president. But once there's already a decision on the appeal, such shall be final and executory. So yan yung step-by-step process in handling sexual harassment cases if the alleged offender is a student. All right. Um, of course, throughout the process, we ensure the safety of the complainant and other students. So, ito yung mga possibilities, as preventive measures. No, we consider separating the alleged offender from the alleged victim's classroom, in the duration of processing the case. We could uh, also recommend, no, you know, arranging a home study or module set up for the parties involved kapag kinakandak pa yung case, no. Okay, now, what if the alleged offender is an employee? So please take note of this, ano? Uh, Pwede nyo namang i-consult ang Office of Student Affairs. We will guide you with a step-by-step process. We could refer you to the Human Resource Management Office, which has the disciplinary authority over all employees in the university. So, um, Similarly, no, we they will ask um the complainant to write up a complaint, no, or a narrative report addressed to the director of the Human Resource Management Office. So you have to attach the supporting evidence, like kung meron ba kayong CCTV footage or testimonial evidence or screenshot of threads of communication, etc., etc., to support your claim. No? So after that, the HRMO director shall review the complaint and immediately shall refer the matter to the Committee on Decorum and Investigation. So I'd like you to understand na iba po ang case and procedure kapag sexual harassment. Kasi in ordinary cases, kapag it's allegedly committed by an employee, the complaint goes to the immediate superior of the employee. Kapag sexual harassment, hindi na po kasi we would like to protect yung confidentiality of the parties involved para konti lang po ang personalities and units na may access doon sa case and para ma-prioritize ang case for speedy disposition of the very sensitive um grievance, no? So, diretso siya sa HRMO. The HRMO refers the matter to the Committee on Decorum and Investigation or CODI. Okay, so meron po tayong CODI. It's actually composed of faculty and staff representatives, a student representative, coming from your Supreme Student Government, um, a chair. Of course, it has a chair. And ang isa sa uniqueness ng CODI is that merong non-voting pero sitting guidance counselor na in the committee to observe the proceeding, no, to ensure the well-being, no, the safety of the student no involved in the proceeding. Okay, and then okay, so this is a possibility, no. The CODI may temporarily suspend the alleged offender, especially if it's an employee, for a maximum period of 1 month while the case is ongoing. Hindi pa po ito yung sanction, but just to protect the safety of the other party, the complainant, the alleged victim involved. No, we could, based on no the circumstances in the case, suspend the alleged offender for a maximum period of 1 month. But of course, we also have efforts in uh in referring yung alleged offender naman to guidance and even psychological services. Okay. The CODI shall investigate and hear the case, and it's fast but careful hearing and investigation. No? The CODI shall deliberate and make a recommendation based on the merits of the case and the school policy, and yung recommendation is submitted to the university for his approval. So, pwedeng uphold, i-modify, or even i-reverse yung recommendation of the CODI. Of course, may reglementary period for appeal, which is 15 days. But if the appeal period already prescribes, or kapag nag-decide na ang university president on the appeal, no, um, the president's decision becomes final and executory. So again, we fast track, but of course, we are being careful in processing sexual harassment cases. Ano, kasi priority siya. Okay. Kasi priority natin ang establishment and maintenance of safe spaces in the university. We also ensure the confidentiality of the cases, and we do not share the details of the case with people in offices which are not involved in the case. Okay? So just some reminders lang po ano to those who may have the plan to complain or who have information about similar uh, situations or cases. We remind parties involved not to discuss the case on social media, and we avoid trial by publicity. We give all parties the chance, to to say their piece, and so to speak, and to be heard. No, we follow uh yung ating provisions as to the adjudication of sexual harassment cases. I think I will stop here. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much po, Sir Sunny, for that sharing. Your sharing was very helpful for us students of ADNU because through your sharing po, we were able to know the process in which our university does when students report an issue. So thank you so much for that po. All right, now we will be having our next reactor. May I now call on Bianca Asuncion? Hi, Ate, the President of the Supreme Student Government. Hello
Hello,
po.
audible ba?
Yes.
Kikita naman sa screen.
Yes po.
Thank you so much. So, good afternoon, everyone. I am Bianca Asuncion, a fourth-year BSBA Legal Management student and the President of the Ateneo Supreme Student Government. Before I start sharing my significant points regarding the topic that was discussed this afternoon, I would like to extend my gratitude to our resource speaker, Councilor Gayle Abonal-Gomez. It is a great pleasure to be in a one webinar with you po, Consi. I would also like to extend my sincerest gratitude and congratulations to the Office of Student Affairs and the Committee on Decorum and Investigation for this successful webinar and giving us the platform to discuss this necessary and timely topic. So, as a legal management student, I would like to highlight the Republic Act number 11313 or the Bawal Bastos Law. This legislation has served as a hope to us on our journey towards to a more respectful, inclusive, and functional society. This law is a testament to our collective commitment in eradicating all forms of sexual harassment and gender-based violence. RA number 11313 recognizes that these actions are not solely offensive, but also deeply harmful that enable a culture of fear, inequality, and discrimination. That the Bawal Bastos Law serves as a resounding declaration that such behavior will no longer be tolerated in our society. Another point that I want to highlight is that a sense of belongingness is essential in learning. We must empower students to be safe enough in this learning institution. We must provide the students the sense of safety for them to be able to effectively learn. And I know Ateneo de Naga University aligns with this mission. We in the Ateneo Supreme Student Government also shares the same goals to uphold human rights and provide inclusive opportunity for the students to address their concerns. Our student congress is also planning to craft policies that address this matter. Cases such as sexual harassment and other allegation cases are being handled by our student tribunal as the representative of ADNO SSG to the Committee on Decorum and Investigation together with the Office of the Student Affairs. Another point that I want to highlight is that I agree to what Dr. Gayle has said. To cultivate safe space is to foster empathy. We should understand things in other person's perspective. With this, we are able to create a community that cares for one another, look for one another, and most importantly, is there for one another. With this, promoting a dialogue is necessary, and having an open conversation is a must if we want to live in a society that addresses the welfare of the people. I have no further questions. Again, thank you so much po to our resource speaker, Consi Gail, Osa, and to all students and individuals that are present here in this webinar. Thank you, Bea.
All right. Thank you so much, Ate Bianca. That was such an excellent sharing. It was nice to hear thoughts from someone who is a legal management student of ADNU. And it is very assuring to hear that the Supreme Student Government of ADNU has the same goals in attaining a safe space here at our campus. Thank you so much for again to Sir Sunny and to Ate Bianca. Now, Ma'am Gail, do you have anything to say po about our sharers for today po? Any comments po?
Yeah, I'm glad, I'm happy that
Charging
a
battery.
structure on addressing these concerns are already in place, no, in the university. And I'm also happy that um, the Office of Student Affairs is really supposedly be the one to be on the lead, is really on top of this. And natutuwa rin ako that our um, SSG president sees clarity, no,
Charge
on the
complete.
need to address the issue. Um, at least, I'm hopeful that if cases happen in the university, hopefully hindi, no, we pray na nawala. Pero I'm happy that to know na may may gagawin, no, may procedure na gagawin. Um, not only to help the victim, no, but also let's also provide help to the perpetrator, especially if the perpetrator also happens to be a member of the university community.
Wow, thank you so much po, Ma'am Gail. Actually, I realized just now po, is after the something happens, the hard part is to share about it or to approach someone and to tell that story. So it's really, really nice to know that we have the College Guidance Center, the OSA, the SSV, and a lot of organizations here in our campus na bukas yung pinto nila para sa ganitong mga issues and meron silang gagawin. At least nalaman yun ng ating mga estudyante. And so, yan, ma'am, thank you so much po again. Before we ask questions po from other participants, we will be having this, or we will present cases or case scenarios, and we will ask Ma'am Gail and our sharer, Sir Sonny, to give their response or advice po sa isang scenario. So, we would like to have a special mention or special thanks to Miss Precious Nina Y. Apuya for helping us prepare these case scenarios. All right, so for our first case po, ma'am, this is about messaging platforms and privacy. So Sarah is thrilled to have her work recognized by Professor Anderson. Soon, the teacher begins messaging her on social media, initially discussing coursework, but gradually shifting to more personal topics. He frequently sends messages late at night and sometimes include compliments that make Sarah uncomfortable. Now, this discussion point is what should be the proper decorum of the teacher in relating or communicating with the students online? And how can students be empowered to report inappropriate digital interactions? So, we would like to ask again, Ma'am Gayle.
Um, yeah, so what should be the proper decorum of the teacher in relating or communicating with the students online? Okay, that's why we have platforms available, right? You have the Google Classroom. Um, yeah, some of us use also the Messenger. Um, these are the platforms so that we can use. Pero um, we make sure, no, as teachers, we make sure that we communicate to our students um, solely because of um, classwork or anything related to academic. Okay. Um, yeah, sometimes, no, it's inevitable that we become a little bit more personal, like we ask them how they are. Okay, pero I think hanggang dun lang, no? Um, it depends on the personal topic. Okay, however, naka-highlight kasi sa case that the topics made Sarah uncomfortable. Okay, so a teacher should be prevented from, going beyond that line, no, na as much as possible, we act professionally um, towards our students, no. May ethics din naman po yung mga teachers. Okay, how can students be empowered to report? First, they have to know. Okay, they have to know if there has been a violation. That's why education and awareness campaign is very important, and they have to know the specific, no, violations involved. Um, helpful yung sinabi mo kanina, Bea, that if I am a victim and I know that someone will be there for me. There's a specific office or agency who would listen to me and then um, yeah, until processing my concern. Um, that's already empowering, okay, in itself, and it's really more empowering if um, clear doon sa estudyante kung ano yung kailangan niyang gawin, no, where to go, and totoo naman yon, no? Sorry if I will be discussing a little bit about the nature of being abused, no? Yung stance kasi kapag naka-experience ka ng violation or abuse, that the brain is wired, no? Telling you that you are weak, okay, that another person have dominated you. So parang yung brain natin sinasabihan tayo na mahina ka, weak ka. That's why a lot of victims really do not report. Okay, so if we also educate people on all these things, makikita nila ano yung effect ng abuse sa isang tao. So they will realize all these things when the abuse or the violation itself happens to them. So alam nila na ito yung mga magiging tendencies ko. So pwedeng bantayan na nila yun sa sarili nila. Okay? And I mentioned also, no, that we can um, provide training for I don't know if I mentioned pala, but we can provide training also for our students with assertiveness, okay, and of course to prevent also we can provide training not only to the students but to everyone in the university on gender sensitivity. So yung mga ganon, no? And perhaps Sir Sunny can discuss about the structure in the university for addressing this. Thank you.
All right. Thank you
Thank you,
so much,
Ma'am
Ma'am
Gail.
Gayle.
I totally agree with you, no, Doc Gail. Um, Given the scenario, very clear na may moral ascendancy yung teacher, no, si Professor Anderson. Kay Sarah. No? So this case falls under the Anti-Sexual Harassment Act of 1995. Particularly, the teachers' acts of messaging the student via social media group chat, no, even late at night, and giving you know, uh, very personal comments, no, very personal comments to the student, may qualify as sexual harassment. No, particularly, this is how you know uh, yung law describes this acts, no, persistent, unwanted attempts to change a professional or education relationship to personal one. Kasi nga, kailangan nating maintindihan na ang role ng teacher is that of a teacher. And other than that, ano pa siya? Meron siyang parental authority. So the teacher is not there to establish a romantic relationship with the student. Yung role niya uh, as a teacher, as a special parent, should define yung kanyang conduct, yung behavior in relating with the students. So supposed to be when a teacher reaches out to a student, meets with a student, dapat uh, relevant lang. Yung matters are relevant to the subject, the requirements, yung performance, no? And in grades, teachers can also establish friendship with students that would make teachers more effective. Pero yung friendship should be something that is respectful and ethical. Kumbaga, you should not cross a certain line. You have to know your uh, boundaries as teacher, and students have to be very much aware of this. No, clearly sa case may discomfort na yung student. So kailangan i-address niya na yun. Of course, it takes a lot of courage to seek help, halimbawa to go to a guidance counselor, uh, to be guided, no, to have a formative intervention or to report a teacher. But ang assurance lang namin is this, we have the policies, the structure to help students who are victims of sexual harassment. Now we will help the student. We will not tolerate incidents of sexual harassment. But you also have to help us by reporting. Kasi it's also very difficult for us to act on something kapag wala kaming material na pinangahawakan. Otherwise, legally baka makompromiso din yung integrity ng university, ng aming office. There. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much po, Ma'am Gayle and Sir Sunny. Now we go on with the second case scenario po. This is about social media and boundaries. So the scenario is, after a class trip, Elise shares photos on her social media. One of her classmates, Greg, saves a picture of Elise in her swimsuit and shares it in a group chat with a caption that objectifies her. The photo quickly circulates and Elise feels humiliated. Now, how do digital spaces factor into the conversation about safe spaces for students? What boundaries should be set regarding sharing and commenting on personal content online? So, anyone po? Si Ma'am Gayle and si Sir Sunny can start po. Okay po, Ma'am Gayle, would you like to start po?
Yeah, okay. Um, yung online harassment is yeah, that's also part of RA 11313. So my provisions for online sexual harassment. Um, you might wonder bakit dun sa ordinance na pinopropose namin walang provisions for online, because there's also another ordinance on online sexual abuse and exploitation of children, and we're also um, tweaking it in our localizing the ordinance, including adolescents. Um, so para ma-highlight yung online harassment, so we're doing a separate ordinance for that. Um, so what boundaries should be set regarding sharing and commenting on personal content online? Okay, there's parang a perspective that says kung parang hindi dapat ma-curtail, no, or mapigilan yung expression natin just because um, merong mga mapang-abuso na tao. 'Di ba may victim blaming phenomenon tayo, right? Okay, but at the same time, it's it's also important for all of us to be aware of our own actions. Um, do you think that a particular behavior or an action would put you in a compromising situation? Okay, so iba kasi yung you did not do anything, no, wala kang intention, okay, compared to uh, may idea ka na baka magkamali ako. Okay, so I don't know kung ano si Elise, it was not mentioned there, no, pero clearly um that that's harassment, no, hindi dapat, di ba, ethically, when you're going to ano yun, parang anong tawag niyo doon, grab a photo of someone, you ask permission from that person, right? Um, or you borrow a photo from someone. Um, nagpapaalam tayo. Okay, so clearly ito, uh, and since no, Elise felt humiliated already, so may harassment na involved siya. Okay, um, mahirap kasi yung sinasabi nating boundaries in sharing and commenting because parang wala pa kasi tayong uh, structure to also regulate, no, yung uh, the different processes in the social media, right? So, once you put everything in social media, parang open to all yun di ba? Pero, di ba, yung Facebook nyo, may mga privacy settings naman siya, no, na yung photos nyo, hindi basta-basta makikita ng iba. Okay, you just choose this particular people na pwede makakita. Pero ang danger is, nasi-screenshot siya. Pag na-screenshot siya, pwedeng i-share, no? Yun yung yun yung mga risk involved because of the technology that we have now. Okay, so siguro babalik tayo dun sa responsibility, no? We make sure that each of our actions are well thought of, kung ano yung mga gusto natin ilagay dyan, comfortable ka talaga na ilagay dyan, paulit-ulit yun, di ba? Ano nga yun? Parang think before you click, right? So, when you post or share your photos there, you're also comfortable, no? And you know the consequences, okay? And yun na nga, kung iba yung interpretation ng iba yung inobjectify yung tao doon into photo, into something else, pwedeng wala kang hold doon, no? Wala ka ng control doon because nasa social media na siya, right? Um, so we still promote responsibility, no, in terms of using the social media. But at the same time, hindi naman yun excuse for Greg, no, the classmate na pwedeng ma-excuse yung behavior niya just because is naman kasi very irresponsible naman, shinare niya yung photo niya. Okay? So, sometimes you also think about, yung both sides, okay, both perspectives. Remember, I shared about sa mga ganitong discourse, may sometimes very clear ang right or wrong, but sometimes um, hindi siya ganun ka-clear or kalinaw, okay? Pero isa yung sigurado, we have to look into the concerns of the victim, no? I-address kung ano man yung complaints niya, and then sana due process will be observed in addressing the concern.
All right, thank you so much po, Ma'am Gayle. Sir Sonny, would you like to add po?
Yeah, I agree entirely with what Doc Gale said. No, clearly this case is this is a violation of the Safe Spaces Act of 2019. No, in the context of Ateneo values, no, this is an egregious disrespect for the human person and dignity. And I say, uh, we do not only avoid this, and we stop it if we're still doing it, even if it's just kumbaga in a kidding manner, so we avoid making comments on a student's physical appearance or body, whether online or in person, and whether the comment is sexual, na baka pag-iisip tap very positive kasi pag sinabihan kang siksihon ka baga or anghat mo naman, di ba, ganyan. So or pwede din nag-derogatory yung comment. So altogether we stop this, uh I'm sure siguro decades ago ay hindi to pinapansin, parang part of humor lang to, no. And in fact, there are really people who have this habit of making comments, di ba, on appearance every time you encounter them, as if they only notice and how you look, and they have nothing else to talk about or to talk with you except how you look. Of course, many times we ignore such comments, no, or nakikisakay na lang. Pero to some people, such comments are offensive, and they are offensive. No? My recommendation is to confront people like this, educate them. No, even if they would accuse us of being, very sensitive, or that we are magnifying the the issue. No, so we do not tolerate. We educate, and if they continue, with such comments, we warn them, even complain them, para matuto. Pero kung kaya pang madalas sa mabuting usapan para ma-educate yung other person, then I think we could do that too, unless grave na, no, and lalo na kapag online, no, kumbaga in full view of the world. Let me kumbaga remind everyone na kapag uh, the offense is done online, mas mataas yung possible na sanctions yan, no? That's explicitly stated in the cybercrime law or act. That's all. Salamat po.
All right, thank you so much po, Ma'am Gayle and Sir Sunny again. For our last case scenario po, the title is Touched by a Teacher. The case is, during a consultation meeting, Sarah's teacher touches her hand and hugs her before leaving the closed door meeting. The teacher also asks for her Instagram account and invites her to have coffee for their next consultation meeting. Sarah feels uncomfortable but isn't sure how to address the situation, as Mr. Cruz is well respected at the school. The discussion point is, how can educational institutions educate staff members about appropriate physical contact with students? What steps should be taken when students experience unwanted physical affection from teachers? So, Ma'am Gayle?
Yeah, okay. Again, there's a need for us to educate people. Um, kasi yun na, sinasabi namin paulit-ulit ni Sir Sunny na in the past, pwedeng okay lang yun eh, right? May teacher na aakbay sa estudyante as, parang a gesture of kindness or care, okay? But nowadays we also need to be careful kasi pwedeng iba yung maging effect ng touch na yon sa student. Okay? So if there have been cases, such as this na ang laging sinasabi na ang laging explanation or paliwanag or justification ng ang perpetrator or in this case the teacher is friendly touch lang naman yon. There's really no intention at all. Okay, so to avoid this things to happen on hindi malinaw sa kanya na mali pala yung ginawa niya, um, kailangan po mag-educate tayo. Okay? Touch is it's part of the Filipino culture eh, right? So kailangan natin ipaalam na hindi na lahat welcome. Hindi na lahat ng touch welcome sa tao because you might be causing violation towards another person. Okay, so um educate repeatedly, and then it also helps may ginagawa namin, may mga infographics around the campus, slogans, posters, so people can be reminded, no? Tapos nakakatulong din po if catchy siya, tapos easy to read, and then interesting to read because people will really stop and look at all these posters. So if it's impossible to educate them through a seminar or a training immediately, then baka yung other ways of disseminating the information. What steps should be taken by the student? Dapat report. Okay? Hindi ko kasi masabi kung complaint na dapat kasi baka mamaya nga, 'di ba? May investigation naman always involved here, right? So report, no, let someone know about this if the student is not comfortable telling kunwari other people, if she's more comfortable, Sarah's more comfortable talking about it to her parents, then immediately, no, as soon as possible sabihin. Okay, I've encountered a lot of cases in the past na dinidelay nila yung pagsabi, and we do understand, no, kung bakit hindi nakakapagsabi, natatakot, yung iba nag-threaten din kasi yung iba, no. Naiintindihan, naunawaan natin yon, pero people should understand the consequences of delaying the reporting, no, of such cases. Kasi may mga implications, alam ko, right, Sir Sunny, may mga legal implications din kasi siya. So, there. Siguro yun din, no, empower your students, no, to assert and then report. Okay? May mga kilala akong tao, no, estudyante, employees, na kapag merong ginagawa yung ibang tao sa kanila without intention, perhaps, no, or joke lang, right away sinasabi nila, can you not do that again? Because you know what you just did that made me uncomfortable. Okay, so sinasabi niya kaagad. And so if, yung tao wala namang intention, I think the person would be led to apologize, right? and then the person will become aware na ah, may iba palang may iba palang ah, effect yung yung ginawa ko. Okay? So, iyon na nga kung makapag-promote tayo ng culture of you know communicating, expressing, asserting ourselves, um, yon, and then letting people know if violations have been done to us. Thank you po.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Gayle. Now, Sir Sunny po.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying that touching is absolutely wrong, and it's automatically an act of sexual harassment. Medyo tricky nga siya. We have to understand the situation, the circumstances, and everything before we make a decision, no? Kapag it's reported as a form of harassment. But I think there are other ways, no, to show our care to other people, especially the students. Nasabi na kanina ni Doc Gail, yung empathy, listening to students, our colleagues with empathy, having authentic conversation with people without unnecessarily touching, no? Kasi yun nga, we have to be very careful. We have to be very sensitive sa ibang tao, no? Lalo na in the laws, sinasabi na yung, for example, yung leering, touching, pinching, yung pakurot-kurot, no? Brushing against another body, are acts of sexual harassment. So my recommendation is this, when a student experiences harassment, well, you really have to reflect on the experience, and even if it means consulting a guidance counselor, or even talking with us here at the office so we could guide you, it may take a lot of courage, but you know please do not ignore it, and if and learn how to say no. Of course, mahirap lalo na kapag may moral ascendancy yung other party, na kinakabahan ka na baka bumaba yung grades mo, ibagsak ka, mawalan ka ng scholarship, etc. But yes, actually, you could say that, no, sir, please do not touch me again. I'm not comfortable being hugged. No, you could say that. Please don't do it again. Okay, and huwag ka nang sumakay pa. Kasi nagkaka-confidence pa lalo yung yung tao, eh. Baka lalong ma-encourage or isiping mutual, no? And it's also good, to stand up for yourself, kasi for all you know, ginagawa niya rin 'yan sa ibang tao, 'di ba? Uh, and uh and for the teachers, for the staff, please avoid touching any part of the student or anyone else's body, even if uh you're only kidding, no? Well, at times people just go along with it, ignore it, but sometimes the feeling of being harassed comes later. Mas problematic yan. Alam nung teacher, okay lang. Tapos upon reflection pala, I feel violated pala. I'm not comfortable with it pala. So, naharas pala. So, if you're fond of doing this, please stop na po. It's not cool. You're not being funny. It's sexual harassment. You're offending. You're offensive, no? And for everyone, including teachers po, yun nga, avoid unnecessary, inappropriate, and unconsented touch. Even consented touch in some instances, lalo na kapag minor po. Holding the student's hands, yung papisil-pisil sa pisngi, yung pagtapik sa, the butt, no? Even if it's just a joke, no? Iwasan. Um, yeah, hugging, for example. So massage, no? Is so again, we have to be mindful of our role in the university. So kung teacher ka, magpaka-teacher ka. If you're a parent, uh, parent ka. So, and that role should dictate your conduct, your behavior with students, your relationship with students. Thank you po.
Okay, thank you so much po, Sir Sunny and Ma'am Gayle, for those advices. So that's the end of that segment po. Again, we thank you so much po, Ma'am Gayle and Sir Sunny. Now, we would like to share with you this short video prepared by the College Guidance Center, which will guide the students on how to avail of their services in relation to this webinar. Let's watch this.
Hello, I'm Xavier. In this video, I will CGC site. The CGC site is a one-stop shop that contains the different programs and services of the office. Here you can do the following transactions. First, appointments for routine interviews, consultations, and counseling. View the programs and services offered by the College Guidance Center. Accomplish survey forms for graduating students and leavers, and refer students to the CGC for counseling. To access the CGC site, just type in the link tinyurl.com/cgc-site or scan in this QR code. Make sure that you are using your Gbox account to access the site. Once you have accessed the site, browse through the homepage for the announcements and updates. To set an appointment, click on Setting an Appointment, choose your college or department, and then read the consultation guidelines. And then, accomplish the Google Forms on the page. When setting an appointment, make sure to answer the informed consent form and select an available date. After you've set an appointment, please check your Google Calendar for the invitation, both for the online and limited face-to-face sessions. Once you have received your invitation, confirm your scheduled appointment. You can also watch the replay videos of the previous webinars by clicking on Programs and Services. You can browse through the pages to see the various programs available. For mental health awareness programs, visit the Special Programs page. For gender awareness, visit the Gender Concerns page. You can also schedule an appointment for gender-related concerns by clicking the Set an Appointment button. For career-related activities, you can see the Career Development and Job Placement page. To view the different activities of our volunteer group, the PCSKV, you can visit the Student Volunteer Programs page. For the CGC to process your clearance, click on the survey forms. If you are a graduating student, click on the Exit Survey for graduating students and choose your graduation batch. If you plan to transfer to a different school or file a leave of absence, click on the Leavers Exit form. Suppose you happen to know a classmate or a friend who is undergoing emotional distress. The CGC referral form is available for anyone who wishes to refer students for counseling and/or consultation. Lastly, if you have questions or queries, click on the Ask a Question button and we will respond to you as quickly as we can. Feel free to visit and browse through the CGC site. Rest assured that all transactions here are kept confidential and secured based on the existing data privacy laws. We hope that you will have a great and productive time here at Ateneo de Naga University. Here at CGC, we care.
All right. Thank you so much, for that college kind of center. Okay, we shall now entertain questions from our participants. Let me now read the questions sent by our participants earlier through the Google form. We also invite Ma'am Gayle for the open forum po. And also Sir Sunny. Okay, for the first question, different cultures may have varying definitions of what constitutes a safe space and different approaches to creating them. How can cultural sensitivity be integrated into safe space initiatives? So, Ma'am Gayle, would you like to answer the question?
Yeah. The From what I know, no, sorry, there have been series of consultations conducted, no, to um before the RE 11313 bawal bastos law has been proposed. And locally also, we did the same thing. So yung efforts kasi was actually spearheaded by Saligan. Okay. So the consultations, from what I know, no, the consultations were able to surface the cultural nuances. No, like yung mga touching, ganon. I mentioned na ano yun parang tendency ng Pinoy, right? Na pag nakita ka, hi, hahawakan ka. Okay. So, if we're just really, talking about the law or locally the ordinance, ang naaalala ko, no, na sagot nila is that yung victim, no, it's really coming from the victim's stance, from the uh, offended party's perspective. Okay. I also mentioned na sometimes kasi subjective talaga siya, no, yung um, interpretation of a particular behavior, no, or an act done, as mentioned in the law. Pero kapag may complaint, no, may report yung victim na I felt violated, I am not comfortable, then even if we, put at the fore, okay, yung mga cultural nuances na yun, the it will go through due process. Okay. So hindi siya pwedeng i-cut right away na kasi parte ng kultura yan. Okay. But from what I know, those have been considered, no, in the development of the law and also in the ordinance.
Okay, thank you so much po, Ma'am Gayle. We will now quickly proceed po with the second question. So, sabi ni participant, how do you cope or manage with your emotions when you are heavily traumatized? I am asking this because I have been suffering from depression since 2017, and even up to this day, I cannot help but think about the past, although I really want to move forward from all the disturbing events that happened long time ago. Thank you.
Okay. Well, as a clinician now, I will be speaking as a clinician now, as a clinical psychologist. If the event happened in 2017, tama ba yun, Bea? Right? So if the event happened in 2017 and if there were no interventions involved, no efforts to seek help, and then it's how many years after already, and then you still experience the same um, emotions, no, or reactions toward that incident a long time ago, um, the experience needs to be processed. No, I would recommend for a professional intervention. Okay, so you can seek counseling, okay, or therapy para mas maproseso yung nangyari. Kasi para ang tingin ko based on the question, it's enduring, di ba? the emotions. Siguro hindi laging nandyan, pero it could be that pabalik-balik siya. Okay? And then if specifically the person thinks that uh, he or she is already suffering from depression, then mabuting ma-check yun with a professional. So you can visit a doctor, a psychologist, or if you want to also go see a psychiatrist para ma-check po, tatanungin ka usually no ng mga professionals na ito kung ano yung mga nararamdaman mo, no, ano yung tatanungin kung ano yung mga um, naapektuhan sa iyo, no, if you can still function fully well, naapektuhan na ba yung motivation mo, etc. to establish if indeed no may depression, may symptoms of depression. So hindi kasi siya pwedeng basta-basta lang, 'di ba, na tatanungin natin kung kanino. So I would recommend because that would be very helpful for you na finally meron kang makausap na tao about the situation you're experiencing.
Alright, thank you so much po, Ma'am Gayle. So I hope yung mga nag-ask na tong questions na to ay nakikinig po kayo. It's very helpful po and hoping na naka-help yung sinabi ni Ma'am Gayle. Alright, for the third question po, paano mo po ba masasabing binabastos o hinaharas ka na ng isang tao, especially sa part naming mga members ng LGBTQIA+ community?
Well, kung gusto nating maging technical, then we can go back to, refer back to the list, di ba, of behaviors, okay, which are can be considered as violations already, no, under based on the law. Well, yun yung pagiging technical, okay? Pero meron din na isang, perspective na which puts ano ba, value or importance or highlights no the subjective feeling of the person. Okay, so yung ikaw yung makakapagsabi na ano yung naramdaman mo no after, for example, the behavior has been done towards you. Um, Again, no, hindi natin ulit hawak kung ano yung intention ng tao, pero ikaw, ano yung dating nun sa'yo? How did that make you feel? Um, what emotions no surfaced? Okay, when you were able to experience it, and if you think that um, hindi ka naging comfortable, um, may ibang naging impact yun sa'yo, like for some, hindi nila nakakalimutan, 'di ba? Parang even if you shrug it off in your mind, paulit-ulit siya, then, it could mean something else already. So, pwede mong ma-check yun sa sarili mo and then ask about it, no? And, yun, people can tell you what to do. Okay? Nakita ko rin yung video ng guidance, no? I'm glad that very specific yung programs and services, no? Na nandiyan siya, very, very clear kung ano yung service na kailangan mo, magre-refer ka ba, or is it about you, ano yung pwedeng gawin. Okay? Sige, so, if this is happening in the university, then, pwedeng bisitahin yung guidance office, no? Or for some students, they feel comfortable talking to their teachers or department chairs, right? Sa department kayo lumalapit. No? Tapos may proper naman siya because regularly, I know every year yata to, di ba, Sir Sunny, the Guidance Center provides training for our teachers on parang teacher counselor training. The teachers are taught how to handle. They're taught basic ways of handling student concerns such as this. Tapos, tinuturuan din yung teachers paano mag-refer, how to spot specific behaviors and when to refer. So, if you're not comfortable going directly to the concerned offices and mas komportable ka, na dito mo muna sasabihin sa department nyo, sa chair, or kung kanino man na teacher, then pwede naman yon. and i-assist po kayo, no, ifa-facilitate kayo ng department chair nyo or the teacher na nakausap. So, alam nila yung gagawin.
Right. Thank you so much po, Ma'am Gayle. For the next questions po, pwede din po si Sir Sonny here mag-input after Ma'am Gayle po because it's related po sa school po. So, yeah. So, what happens to an employee who's also an alleged offender if an investigation reveals that a student was indeed a victim of sexual harassment? However, victim decides not to file a complaint. And then my follow-up question po siya, in the event that a student has been subjected to sexual harassment by an employee, do you consult or speak to the parents of the victim? Yun po.
Bea, I'm not familiar with the recent policies. Para may update kasi, so baka Sir Sunny might be able to answer the question. Baka kasi magkamali ako. Sir Sunny, ikaw na lang po. Thank you.
Yeah, those are two questions, right? Ano yung unang question muna? Ano yung first
Sige po, sir. Yung
situation?
first question niya po is, what happens daw po to an employee who's who's also an alleged offender if an investigation reveals that a student was indeed a victim of sexual harassment. However, victim decides not to file a complaint daw po.
Well, ang assumption when you said na there's already an investigation, meron ng report, if not technically a complaint. So ibig sabihin the proper office already received sufficient information to make an investigation, and therefore such could already be forwarded to the Committee on Decorum and Investigation for a hearing based on the investigation. So kapag mabigat naman yung ebidensya kahit hindi ba nag-cooperate or nag-complain yung person who actually experienced the form of harassment, then a decision could already be made, no? Based on the merits no ng report or case. Halimbawa, kung kitang-kita naman sa CCTV footage or maraming mga testimonial evidence, yan, pwedeng gumawa ng desisyon ang university through the CODI and the university president, and the sanction in the manual could be administered to the employee. So maraming pwedeng maging sanctions depende sa severity ng act, So nasa policy naman 'yan. Actually, anyone could complain. So hindi necessary na siya yung naka-experience. Pwedeng witness siya. Kaya lang ang problema ganito, kung very limited ang evidence and walang access to certain communication, hindi pwedeng mag-decide to, for example, dismiss the employee based on rumors, yung mga hinala lang, walang grounds, we will be legally liable. Iko-complain tayo ng employee kapag hindi natin na defend yung ating decision to, for example, suspend or dismiss, terminate the employment of a particular administrator, staff, or teacher. Yun, kaya we really encourage alleged or possible victims to take courage, no? And we offer all our services, no, formative interventions. Marami tayong mga guidance counselors, may counselor in charge sa gender concerns, merong Office of Student Affairs, merong HR, merong tayong structure like CODI that will ensure yung protection ng all parties involved and will make fair and just decision on matters like sexual harassment. I hope
Yes,
that's clear po.
yes. My follow-up question to Sir Sunny. In the event that a student has been subjected to sexual harassment by an employee, do you consult or speak to the parents of the victim daw po?
Automatic kapag minor, oo. Oo. And even during hearing, ano yung actual hearing, uh, we request a parent or guardian to accompany the student during the proceedings. Actually, maraming mga natatakot kapag sinasabi na that we have to inform the parent, no? Uh, about the experience, no? Uh, pero a- pero actually nakakatulong din ang parent. I'm sure parents are very much interested in the welfare and well-being of their children. Pero we understand na merong mga estudyante na natatakot, nahihiya. And may mga families talaga na may certain dynamics, na hindi ganun ka-open, etc., etc. We understand that. Actually, in some situations, we don't, especially if the student is, for example, already emancipated, very independent na, or 18 years old na. Kasi, ang complaint, whether or not may endorsement yan, may basbas yan ng parent, uh, is valid. Lalo na kapag siya, majority na. You see, ang sa totoo lang, ang parents are very important stakeholders in the university. But we treat our students as adults, especially yung of majority age. They could already make some decisions for themselves, like submitting a complaint, representing themselves in proceedings like this. So, yes, depende sa circumstances. Nag-uusap naman kami ng estudyante kung bakit ayaw niya munang i-inform ang parent or kailangan niya pa ng more courage or guidance. Halimbawa, with guidance, we encourage the student that later on uh, i, i, sabihin sa parent kung ano yung kasi very limited lang naman ang reach ng school. Pagdating sa bahay, wala naman tayo sa bahay ng estudyante. Parents, guardian ang nandyan. So, best na naiintindihan ng parents yung sitwasyon ng kanilang mga anak. So, there.
Okay, thank you so much po, Sir Sunny. Actually, the last question po is very related or connected po doon sa na-mention mo kanina about evidence po. So sabi ni participant po is, I would like to ask if there is indeed a teacher who had once abused students and displayed inappropriate behavior, but the students can't go against them since they don't have any evidence, despite the fact that this has happened multiple times. What should be done in this situation?
The testimonies of in many cases, no, the testimonies of the victims themselves already suffice. Oo. Kasi actually, alam nyo, minsan natatakot yung estudyante, no, na magiging vindictive yung alleged offender, na ibabagsak sila, ano, or papanigan yung teacher ng administration. Pero hindi, we're very fair. And in fact, let me tell you, just to encourage you, no, alam nyo ba, yung mga karamihan ng mga alleged offenders din kapag na-corner, kapag na-complain, kumbaga ano 'yan, ah, nawawala yung angas. Kumbaga kapag na-corner sila, lumalambot 'yan. Ang karamihan diyan umaamin. Sa totoo lang 'no, based on experience 'no. So, kasi minsan they find their strength ano in the silence of their victims. Yung kapag ini-ignore lang ng victim, mas na i-encourage sila kapag hindi nalalaman ng iba. Pero kapag may nakaalam na, nako, nag-weaken na yan, yung mga offenders na yan. Kaya take courage. I'm sure merong inputs dito si Ma'am Gayle. Mas maraming experience yan in dealing with yung mga abused individuals and even yung perpetrators, yung behavior nila.
Ma'am Gayle, would you like to add po?
Behavior ng perpetrator, well, iba-iba. Pero tama yung sabi ni Sir Sunny, no, na um, meron naman sa kanilang natatakot din sa consequences. So, if they put themselves in that position, aamin yun. And aamin, tapos yung iba very cooperative pa nga, no? Ano yung pwede niyang gawin, no, to make amends. Pero meron din naman talaga, lalo na kapag, well, papasok na kasi dito, di ba, yung mental disposition ng tao. Because there are actually some offenders na it's really what, may mga pathological tendencies na kasi sila. So, itong mga taong to, walang remorse. Okay, may mai-encounter ka na walang remorse. So, yung walang remorse, paulit-ulit nila yon gagawin. Merong cases na sa court nag-plea for anti-insanity defense. Pero yun that's still subject to evaluation by a government doctor, no, psychiatrist specifically. So medyo mahirap din talaga siyang i-prove. Pero yun yung usually tendencies, no. Pwedeng mag-bend, pwedeng ang term namin usually tumitiklop sila, no. Kasi natatakot na rin naman sila. Pero may encounter ka talaga na either they will not admit at all or they will admit pero they will not cooperate because yung tendency nila na they do not feel any remorse.
Alright po. Thank you so much po, Ma'am Gayle and Sir
Thank you
Sunny.
po, Ma'am Gayle.
Alright po. As much as we would like to continue the open forum, unfortunately, we do not have much time. So apologies to those which cannot be accommodated. However, if okay lang po kay Ma'am Gayle, we will just forward po the questions from the Google form to you po so that we can get back to our participants po.
Sure. Tapos do I send back to you through email na lang?
Yes po. Kukontakin ka na lang po ng staff from the Office of Student Affairs.
Yeah, sure po, sure.
Alright. Thank you so much po, Ma'am Gayle. Ayan. Kung makita niyo, Ma'am, yung Google form natin, madaming comments and questions na maganda. So, thank you so much to our participants for participating.
Sir
And,
Sunny, sorry.
sige po.
Sorry, Bea. Sir Sunny, baka suggestion lang. If you can review the questions and then it could be parang springboard for another session. Baka mamaya ibang tao naman, ibang speaker naman yung yung imbitahin
Yes po.
mo, diba? Para
Noted po.
para hindi lang yung nagtanong yung ma-address natin. Kasi baka may kailangan din na marinig din ng the entire student
Yes
body.
po.
Right? Sige
Yes,
po.
this is not going to be our last. In fact, we're planning to have training in like a whole day training, to capacitate our students, including the leaders, on how to prevent sexual harassment, to help us in promoting safe spaces in the university. Thank you so much, Doc Gayle.
All right. Thank you so much po ulit, Doc Gayle, for generously responding to the questions that we have mentioned. So maraming salamat din po sa ating sharers kanina and those who participated in the open forum. I hope that we have all learned something from this activity. I'm sure madami. And now, to show our gratitude for our resource speaker for their time and effort, we now present this electronic certificate of appreciation. Let me read the citation. The certificate reads, Ateneo de Naga University, in cooperation with the Committee on Decorum and Investigation, presents the certificate of appreciation to Dr. Gilda Gayle R. Abonal-Gomez, in grateful recognition of her expertise and service as resource speaker in the webinar on cultivating safe spaces, held on September 22, 2023 via Zoom. Given this 22 of September 2023 at the Ateneo de Naga University, City of Naga, Philippines. Signed by Ms. Janice L. Casvales, the Program Officer of Student Welfare, Safety, and Ethics, Mr. Rodolfo S.P. Vertus Jr., Director of Student Affairs and Chair of CODI, Father Celerino Ignacio M. Reyes, Officer in Charge, Office of Mission and Identity, and Father Roberto Ezequiel Rivera S.J., University President. So thank you very much again, Dr. Gayle. Let us all give her a warm round of virtual applause. Now, Ma'am Gayle, would you like to say your few more words po to our participants before we end?
Okay na siguro. Basta yun lang. Take care of yourself. Take care of others. Be kind to yourself and be kind to others. Thank you.
Thank you so much po, Ma'am. So we would like to invite our participants to turn on their cameras so we can have the photo opportunity. Ayan. So, yan. Makikita na natin ating mga participants. Guys, open naman kayo ng mga camera. Ayan. Ganda naman. Naka-smile. Mga smiling faces. Also, guys, yung mga participants, please don't forget to accomplish your evaluation forms through the link posted. Certificate of attendance will be issued after you fill out the form. Okay, ready na ba kayo, guys? Please just hold your smiles kasi medyo madami-dami kayo. So, madaming pages ito. Ayan, ready na ba ang ating tech team? Ayan, okay na po ba tayo? Okay na po. Okay, ready guys? Smile po tayo. In 3, 2, 1. Okay, next page. 1, 2, 3. Okay, hold nyo lang yung smile guys kasi medyo madami-dami kayo. Yan. Okay na po ba? Masignal na lang tayo sa tech team if okay na po. Wait lang daw. Isa pa daw. Smile. Ayan. Parang naka-picture lang. Last slide daw. Okay na po? Okay na daw po. Again, thank you so much, everyone. Now, let us gather ourselves and be at our most comfortable position for the closing prayer. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. Almighty God, we thank you for this successful event. We thank you for keeping us safe and healthy. We ask for your blessings and guidance for us to remember the things that we have learned today. Give us your grace and mercy, Father God, so that we will always be safe under your protection. All of this we ask through Christ our Lord. Amen. Now that's a wrap for this insightful event. We hope that you enjoyed this webinar and gained new insights about student safety. Once again, this is Beatriz Maybe Villanueva, and thank you everyone for coming, and please take care of yourselves. Please do not forget to accomplish the evaluation form to receive your e-certificates. You can just scan this QR code flashed in the screen or click the link provided in our Zoom chat box. Thank you, everyone, and goodbye. See you all again. Thank you.